Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hello there, Fun and Games podcast listener. My name is Dave Jackson. I'm back. I'm from the Tales from the Backlog podcast, and I've previously done a couple of these side quest episodes, and every now and then I play a game that inspires me so much that I hurriedly text Matt and say, hey, I got to do a side quest. Has anyone done a side quest about this game? And luckily, they had not for this game, which is Rain World. A little bit about myself before I start. Like I said, I'm the host of the Tales from the Backlog podcast. Every episode of my show is a backlog games review. And so I'm going through a lot of games that I own, games that I get for free. Sometimes I do new releases too. But the one thing I want you to know about my show, and the thing that I think lets anyone come to my show and listen to any episode, is that I do all of my episodes spoiler-free for as long as I can. And each episode is usually about 2 hours long. And we do a lot of that spoiler-free. We go about as deep as we can without spoilers. So if you want to come to my show and listen to an episode about a game you've never played, like Rain World, you can. So what is Rain World? Rain World is a 2D platforming survival game, I would describe it as. It was developed by Videocult and published by Adult Swim Games and Akupara Games. It came out in 2017, and this is a game that, I hadn't heard of for a while, but if you pay attention to games, if you're deep into games, Twitter and stuff like that, or in a lot of Discord servers, like maybe the CPOV Discord server, perhaps, you might hear little bubblings up, people talking about Rain World. And the reason for that is I just think that out there are a lot of games that you can play and say, oh yeah, it's like this. It's like this game. Oh yeah, this game takes lots of inspiration from this, and this, and I can make these easy comparisons. And then sometimes you play games and it's just unique. There is nothing else like it that you've ever played. And Rain World is one of those games. And there's a reason why I feel like a big majority of the people who play and finish this game end up like me, evangelizing it at every chance that they get. So in Rain World, you play as a little slugcat. And the slugcat is the first thing you got to talk about. The slugcat is super cute. It is difficult to describe with words. It's a squishy white or yellow, depending on what starting character you play as. It kind of looks like a cat from far away, but it can walk on its hind legs. It can use its hand to grab and throw stuff. It doesn't look like a slug. I think that's from the squishy aspect of it. And the slugcat that you play as is not an apex predator. And you're in an environment full of different animals at all levels of the food chain, but you yourself are pretty low on the food chain. And that's the first thing that makes Rain World stand out from a lot of games that you play, whether you play as a person or sometimes as another animal. I'm thinking there's the old PS3 game, Tokyo Jungle, where you start out playing as like a Pomeranian on the post-apocalyptic streets of Tokyo, but eventually you grow to run the streets in that game. In Rain World, you never reach that point. You are always a prey animal. And it really takes a shift in gamer mindset that in this game, you are never going to jump the power curve. You are never going to be able to kill these monsters that are out in the world. That is not what this game is about. And that experience of putting you in this kind of nature is metal simulator is really, really unique, and it's not something that I've experienced. The closest thing, again, is that game Tokyo Jungle. In Rain World, you are trying to progress through this world. The level screens that you progress through are handcrafted, but everything else about it is simulated. There are enemies, there are other animals, I should say. They're not all enemies, but there are other animals that all have their own behavior patterns, their own interactions with each other, and the developers just kind of place them on the map and then set them free. So there is activity happening regardless of what the player is doing. So you might walk into another room and there might be two animals fighting. You might be making good progress, and there's an animal that's been lying in ambush, and as soon as you walk near it, it reaches out and snaps you up and eats you, and it's game over, and it's time to go back to the last save room and start again. And because this is simulated, each room will never quite play the same way twice. And in combination with the fact that you are a prey animal, and if something like that happens, you can't really fight back. You have ways to distract enemies. You have ways to buy yourself a couple of seconds to make an escape, but you'll never really be able to fight back. All of these things together create a game that is sometimes very, very unfair. And I got to tip my hat to Videocult here, because creating situations that are unfair toward the player is not something that most video games do. And you might be listening and thinking, well, that sounds like this game sucks. Well, if it sucked, I wouldn't be here on the esteemed side quest sub-series of the Fun and Games podcast. I wouldn't be here. It doesn't suck. It just takes a little shift in mindset that this is a different type of challenge. Let's say you go into a room, you're making good progress. There was an enemy that was camouflaging itself, and you walked right in front of it and it ate you. Well, next time you go, because this is simulated, next time you go into that area, that enemy probably won't be there. It got its lunch and it left. Sometimes games set up challenges for the player that you're meant to kind of have a difficult time with, but then when you overcome them, you have this sense of relief, of accomplishment, of jubilation, and all everywhere in between. A lot of games do that by presenting you with really difficult boss fights. And so you're going to fight this boss 20 times. And then when you beat it, you're going to go, hell yeah, I beat this boss. I beat Millennia in Elden Ring. I feel accomplished. Rain World gives you that same situation, except it's not a boss. It's like the process of making it through a day and finding a new safe place and making a little bit of progress along the track to find out what's happening. It's honestly super unique. You have two main things that you have to do in Rain World. You have to find enough food so that you can sleep, and you have to make it from one safe room, go out exploring, and find a new safe room to sleep in before the rains come. And when the rains come in Rain World, oh, the rains, they come. This is what John Fogerty was singing about in Have You Ever Seen the Rain? Oh my God, the rain in Rain World. It is a spectacle to be seen. Not to be seen out in the open, mind you, but it is crazy. They weren't lying about the rain. I'll just say that. So you have this pressure on yourself. You have to find food. You have to find shelter. You have to not get eaten. That sounds a lot like a nature program. And there's a lot of times when I'm playing Rain World and kind of trying to evade predators or make jumps, because there is a lot of platforming involved, climbing, jumping, making these precision actions while not getting eaten. I can hear David Attenborough in the background giving a little bit of, and the slugcat lines up his jump. This is make or break. I'm not doing a good British accent here. I'm not trying to do a British accent. But the slugcat leaps. He grabs the pole, dives into the safe room as the rain starts to come down. The other part about Rain World is that you have a lot of simple actions. You can run, you can jump, you can climb, you can pick up stuff and throw it. But there are a lot of interactions in the world for you to discover. How does this animal react to this item? How does this animal react to this other animal? How can I use something that I learned to my advantage? Oh, maybe this animal is not hostile to me. Well, can I eat it? Can it help me with something else? There are lots of things to discover. And so the pushing out into the unknown, trying to find the path forward, trying to find more safe rooms, that aspect of discovery is great, as it is in a lot of video games. But there is also a discovery to the moment and the depth of actions that you can perform. Maybe there's a huge thing in front of you blocking your path forward, and you need to get past it, but you can't just walk past it because it will eat you. What can you use in the environment to distract it? Maybe take a look around. Maybe there's a hidden path above or below it. There's so much to discover, and it all coalesces into this truly magical experience, a game that is wholly unique from anything else I've ever played. and a game that I think will inspire in a lot of people the same kinds of joy, the same kinds of feelings of accomplishment, feelings of putting the pieces together that I hear people talk about with games like Outer Wilds and Tunic. It is that kind of game. And the story is told very indirectly in a lot of places. There's a lot of environmental storytelling. There's a lot of figuring things out for yourself. There are very few times when a story will be directly told to you. But those times when it is told to you are things that I'll never forget. And so this whole package of the survival aspects, the discovery, the exploration, the surmounting the insurmountable challenge, as well as figuring out what is going on in this kind of post-industrial world where nature is reclaiming it. It is an experience that I will treasure, and it is an experience that I hope that I have convinced you to try. We're at the point in Rainworld's life as a game where it's being given away for free. It was a monthly game on PS Plus. It was given away for free on Amazon if you have Amazon Prime. It routinely goes on sale for like $10 or less on Steam, and it has a substantial DLC package called Downpour that was released pretty recently that adds new characters with different play styles, different granular options that you can use to tailor your own play experience, and much more. So I hope I've convinced you to give Rainworld a try. If you would like to hear more, you can hear more on an upcoming episode of Tales from the Backlog. If Rainworld is not up on the podcast by the time you go check it out, feel free to find another game that you would like to hear talked about in detail without spoilers. Once again, that's Tales from the Backlog. I have been Dave Jackson. I hope you play Rainworld, and as always, happy gaming.
Hey there, Screen Beans. Have you heard about Screen Snark?
Rachel, this is an ad break. They aren't screen beans until they listen to the show.
Fine. Potential Screen Beans. You like movies and TV shows, right?
I mean, who doesn't? Screen Snark is a casual conversation about the movies and television shows that are shaping us as we live our everyday lives.
That's right, Matt. We have a chat with at least one incredible guest every episode, hailing from all walks. We've interviewed chefs,
Writers, costumers, musicians,
yoga teachers, comedians, burlesque dancers,
folks in the film and TV industry,
and more.
We'd be delighted for you to join us every other Monday on the Certain POV Podcast Network.
Or wherever you get your podcasts, fresh and tasty off the presses.
What? That's not...
Can I call them Screen Beans now?
Fine.
Screen Beans!
So tune in and we'll see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere.
'Cause you're all Screen Beans now.
You will be mine. Aurora.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.